Hi, I'm Kimile with Heal with Kimile podcast. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about some laws of the universe. And if you can live by them, your life's a little bit easier. Here's some laws that I recommend, and I try and live by them as well. My number one is what you resist is going to persist. So if you're going through hard times or you're resisting some sort of experience, if you resist it and you fight it, it's going to stick around. That's just how it works. So what does that really mean? Well, if I'm looking at my future and I'm resistant to how it's going, or if I have my present time experience and I don't love it, I'm miserable, but I'm fighting it, resisting it, I'm going to keep it around because I'm not really digesting it or absorbing it. I'm in battle with it. So I'm putting energy toward it. I'm shoving energy toward it, right? And so even, you could say whatever you fear is going to happen, which people hate. I hate it, but what you're afraid of tends to come to pass because you're putting so much energy, resisting it and fearing it that you actually make it happen. So, whatever you put your energy or attention on, you make more of. That's another law that I live by. So if you're putting energy towards something not happening and trying to prevent it from happening all the time, guarantee you it's probably going to happen. So, then another law to live by is be willing to experience anything. I'm not saying you want to experience anything, but if you're willing to and you're not resisting whatever experience you're in, then it's not going to stick around. And you're going to have a lot easier time because you're not, again, fighting your reality. I work with people all day long, and what I feel like is productive for people when they're recovering from some sort of trauma or something from the past they need to recover from, get over, so to speak, is to not edit themselves, not to put pressure on themselves, to not be expressive about it. So, example, if you've had a traumatic experience, I have a client who was in his early 20s and was told by a doctor, misdiagnosed by a doctor, that he had this horrible colon condition and that if he ate something wrong, it was a fatal disease. They really didn't know a lot about it. He was in a foreign country when he was told this. He spoke broken Korean and mostly English, but he was told by this doctor that he had this fatal condition and he would die if he ate the wrong thing. And he needed to stick around the hospital because if he had this reaction to it, he literally could just die like that. And he'd had some colon issues before. He came back from Korea and he was in the hospital recently and he had a colon blockage. So he did have some colon things going on. Petrified him, terrified him. He went to California with some experts and did some massive testing to see if he really had this disease or if it was just speculation from another doctor. And they got all the records from Korea, all the tests they ran. It came back conclusive. He does not have this disease, but the damage is done. I mean, that's quite a trauma and shock to hear from a doctor. You could die. We don't know a lot about this. Sorry. And just stay near a hospital. So literally shook his foundation and he has PTSD from it. He doesn't want to be in a car trapped. He just can't feel trapped. He can't feel trapped in any sort of situation. So this has just brought on a tsunami of anxiety and stress and trauma for him. And his brain, he's watching his brain, now he knows, okay, I'm not dying from that disease. I don't have that disease, but I can still have an anaphylactic shock. I can still have a reaction. So his brain's still bargaining in a way. It's like the brain does not know how to really get clear of this trauma. So what I've been working with him on is to be completely self-expressed, whatever that is. If it's journaling, journal the thoughts, journal the pain, the fear, whatever that is, just say it all, speak it all, write it all. Don't be afraid of it because the minute you resist whatever you're thinking and feeling, guess what? It's going to stick around. And people that run to drugs and alcohol and they try to numb out, they try not to feel anymore. They don't want to go through that anymore. Look, you're just Band-Aiding. It's just a Band-Aid. And sometimes, okay, I will say thank God for Band-Aids, alcohol, drugs, pot, whatever, because you don't have the bandwidth or the support to really process the trauma in the present time. So Band-Aid it to get through it. A lot of kids do that. By the way, a lot of teenagers do that. So they Band-Aid and then at a later date, it still will come out. Like the buried pain, y'all, comes back in potentially uglier ways. That's a phrase by, I think it was an author that wrote that. But basically, if you bury your pain and you don't process it and cope with and digest life as it comes at you, you're going to get emotionally constipated. Probably a bad analogy, sorry. But we are talking about a client of mine with colon issues. So anyway, But what people have to be willing to do is just confront it, face it, feel it, deal with it. He was having nightmares that he was trapped in this high-rise apartment, dingy gray, no connection, horrible food. Like he was literally having this routine dream. And I said, that's where your brain feels like it's at. Tucked in this little cubby of an apartment, no life, can't leave it, dingy, watery rain, awful, and just no life, no future, no light. And that's literally how he's been feeling for years. So he's finally able to start tapping into what he wants and doing something kind and supportive for himself every day. Like this kid wasn't even eating. He didn't dare eat. So he lost all this muscle. He lost all this weight. He just feels scrawny and weak and small. Like that is just the road to death. I mean, that right there is the road to death. So it's amazing to me when a trauma hits somebody, how it affects every area of their life. And if you really don't stop and process and recover from that, it's going to linger for years, which is what's been happening with this client of mine. So if you resist it, it's going to persist. Like that's one thing you need to know. If you're running away from something, trust me, it will follow you. And it's almost like a gift, because when we say, oh, I can't handle that, I can never go through that again, I just can't deal with that, the universe says, yes, you can. I believe in you. We're going to do it over and over until you get it. It's like it literally wants to bring that, bring your strength out of you. So you go through things over and over and over, and maybe they're similar, and it's the same thing again, same relationship again, just different person, because the universe is trying to get you to learn something, get something out of it, transform it, graduate from it. And right now, what I'm going through with my clients, truly, there's always a theme. Like every week or every month, there's a theme. And this month's theme is massive completion, like 15-year cycles coming to an end. People are truly, dealing with something they've been resisting for 15 years. So that seems to be the number. People are like, since '08, I've been going through this. Since '08, this is what's happened to me. So I'm hearing that theme. And I think that's what most people are kind of struggling with, is what they have to really get clear about or authentically learn finally and graduate their past so they can just move on. And they don't tend to live in that repeat cycle. But man, the floodgates of emotion are hitting people. Like they can't quit crying. They're like, well, I thought I was over this. I did therapy. I talked about this. I journaled about it, whatever. They're reliving some sort of, past trauma that they've been burying for a long time. So if that sounds like something you're going through, you're in good company. A lot of people are going through that. Okay. So, another rule I try and live by is be willing to experience anything. I said that earlier. But when you're willing to experience something, you're not resistant to it. So it won't have the grip. Some people say, well, I think police have said, if you get a car wreck and you're drunk, you're probably more likely to not be injured because you're rolling with the vehicle. And so there's not a resistance. But when you see a wreck coming, don't you clench up and try and control it and stop it? It's just instinct. You just clench up. So that's, I think, in life, if you're clenched and terrified and panicking, it's going to hit you harder than if you have a bigger perspective of life and you're like, if I fear this, I'm going to create this. So I'm going to be willing to experience anything. That doesn't mean I want to, but if something happens to me, my attitude about it is lean in. I'm leaning in. I'll figure it out. Everything's going to work out in my favor. It's happening for me, not to me. Like you got to sort out how you're going to even perceive life and how you perceive it. Usually people are right. Whatever you believe, you're usually right. So if you can have an attitude of gratitude for everything coming at you and what are you learning from it, and even if you don't love it, running from it, it's just going to come with you. You take yourself with you wherever you go. Another law to live by is don't give people more than they can handle. So I have done this in my life. I've learned this lesson so many times. So if I'm sitting with someone, if I'm in a session with somebody, and look, I might say something that is a little bit too much for them to handle, like more truth than they're ready for, or calling them on their crap or something. And they get pissed off. They get upset with me. So if people get too much too fast, or you give them more than they can handle, people will get mad at you and probably attack you. That's just how it goes. And if you've been in an argument with someone, and maybe you've experienced this for yourself, I was just saying my truth. I was just telling them, and they probably couldn't hear it, and then they reacted. That reaction is because they got too much too quick and they couldn't handle it. So I will tend to, I don't want to withhold with people. So there's always like a moral dilemma for me. I want to be able to be straight, honest, and serve people honorably. But I sometimes have to manage that. Okay, they're digesting that. When they're done, they'll come back. And so that's typically what I need to try and do, is just moderate the truth. I kind of help people. I land on people. So don't give people more than they can handle, because if you do, they're going to probably attack you. And you see people like, it's interesting because people, if they hear that stuff, whatever, they have to process it, digest it, and then they come back. They're like, okay, I can handle more now. But I think the truth, a little people don't live in the truth. They live in some sort of illusion. And when I burst that little bubble of, this, like, that's their safety net. I've got one client who's pregnant by an all-star basketball player, and she's got two babies of his, gave up her college. She's a 21-year-old young, beautiful girl and lives in Utah. He's, out gallivanting and doing his college and playing ball, not committed, not generating, the relationship, doesn't talk about future. She's given up her whole life raising his two kids, and she's going to now move closer and live with his mom. No, 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 no. Don't do that. Because again, you're chasing this, but she can't handle me saying, and I did say today, girlfriend, before you move out there, before you think you're going to do that, you best call me, because I got to get in your head. If you do this, you're going to regret it. You're dragging two little babies across, the country, and you're going to live with a strange woman you don't even know, his mom. And where's he? Oh, he's in the dorm. He's going to keep living his life. He's not going to be inconvenienced by me and his two children. I'm like, put a ring on it. He needs to put a ring on it. He needs to get committed to something, or she's got to live her life here and be fulfilled, or date, or find another a guy that's going to be there for her. This has been going on for 4 or 5 years. It just breaks my heart for her, because I watch her just get nothing out of this. Gives him money. Are you kidding me? Anyway, but when I burst that little bubble of the fantasy, oh, he's going to finally be there. He's graduating next year. Well, then when he graduates, if he puts a ring on it, then I guess you can talk about future plans and move him here. But until that happens, honey, you're chasing the man and you're sacrificing so much, and you're going to resent the crap out of him. Look, what causes resentment? Resentment is caused by overgiving, overcommitting, overdoing it. It's not reciprocated. You're not getting back what you're giving. That causes resentment. And by the way, what is a criminal? By definition, a criminal is someone who gets something for nothing. So maybe he's not stealing or, have criminal, legal criminal, but he's criminally taking from her life force, her future, her college, like all this stuff is gone from her, and he's benefiting from her sacrifices, and this not reciprocated. So he's not yet inconvenienced. That kind of stuff. I heard something yesterday about what love is, how you experience love. And it's really when someone is accommodating or concerned about how you feel. Like they want to make sure that something they give you would like. They know you enough to know how you're going to feel about something. And I think that's accurate. I think that you want to make sure that a person's going to be okay with things. And anyway, I don't think this is happening in this situation. And just pray with me that this girl does not move out there to chase him and anyway wreck her life anymore. But when you tell people that, burst a little bubble, it can cause, them to run away, and then she runs away and comes back. But I'm probably the only voice of reason for her. And I hope she listens this time. Or if she does, look, it's going to be proved out. He's not investing in her. And when you invest in someone not investing in you, again, the investment's got to match. You need someone investing in you like you invest in them, or the relationship. There's resentments that build. And then that criminal energy, they're getting something for nothing. That is by definition what's happening. All right, I digress. I have all these little stories to tell with my theories. So that's what I do. Hope you can keep track with me. I think you can. Let's see here. The next law to live by is honor your word. We can't always keep our word. If we can try. Like that could be a goal to always keep our word. But, life's on everybody. So shit happens, they say. And sometimes it's just not possible. So when you aren't being your word, when you haven't kept your word, then honor your word. And what that looks like is get in communication as quickly as possible. Oh, I'm going to be late. I'm letting you know. I'm re-promising I'll be there in 10 minutes. Or, we're not going to be together. I'm breaking up with you. I know we had plans for the future, but I'm not there yet, or I'm whatever. Like, be in communication with whoever you're breaking your word to, because your word matters. See, if you honor your word and you make a promise that you can't fulfill on, and then you break your promise, that's life. That's what happens. But if you also manage the impact of your broken promise, your broken word to whoever you're breaking your word to, then that shows that you honor your word. And look, they're going to have a reaction, and sometimes you can handle the impact of that broken promise. Sometimes you can't. But that you care, that you gave your word and you're breaking your word, most people respect that. I find it fascinating that when people tell on themselves, they just admit, yeah, I lied, or I stole, or I cheated, or whatever. Even though you broke your word or you did something out of integrity, that you're honest about it and remorseful, hopefully, that most people trust you even more in a way after, because they know at least you're going to tell the truth. They may break the relationship up with you, but they at least know that you honored them in the process. You were at least honest. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone through things with people that they feel like something's going on. That person's cheating on me, or they're lying, or I know something's wrong. And they're right. they're right, and maybe they're hounding, and maybe they're, bashing or accusing, and they're yelling or whatever. But at some point, when they figure out down the road, that person says, "You were right. I was cheating, or I was lying, or I did steal that." And then you're like, "Oh my gosh, I wasn't crazy. My feeling was accurate. I had some sort of sense about that." That does give a little relief to know that you're probably correct in your assessment, and your hunches and your feelings are not wrong. So honor your word as best you can. And again, make people aware that your word matters, that you did say something, and you're breaking your word, and you want to repromise, and you're accountable, and you get that there's an impact, and you're breaking your word, and you own it. Like, you just own the impact. And if there's monies to pay, like if I've missed my hair appointment, I mean, I just Venmo my money. That's on me. I'm not gonna put a person, my hairdresser, on hold and say, "Oh, don't, no, show up." I wouldn't do that. I would make sure he's whole and complete. And then if he's got an upset around it, I'm going to say, "My bad. How did that land on you? Are we okay? Like, where you at? Be real with me. I really want to know if I've offended you." And that you care enough to do that, that I care enough to do that. It works out. I've known this, my hairdresser, for, I don't know, probably 30 years. Okay, so honoring your word is a very good life strategy. And life will not be fair. Look, another law I live by is my life's not fair with other people, meaning as a leader, and I consider myself a leader in the world, other people don't have as high a standard as I do about who they are. They don't realize how important they are. They don't realize how valuable their word is. And so maybe they say they're going to be here, or maybe they no show, or they're late, or something, And I hold people to account. I mean, I'm like, "You gave your word. This is what I'm counting on from you. Do you not realize how important you are?" And so when you when you lose your integrity, when you break your word, or cancel or not cancel, whatever. And this is just silly stuff. I'm talking about real life things. People don't recognize how important they are, how valuable they are. So when they make a promise to somebody, children especially, kids count on your word, right? So when you break your word, or you just don't realize that was something you need to clean up, that's a breakdown. And then you lose integrity, and people quit trusting you. They start seeing you. Their perspective of you changes to, "I can't trust this person. I don't count on that person." And some people want to live in that world. They don't want to be counted on. They don't want to be trusted. They don't want big positions. They don't want to be leaders. And so as a leader, I just know that I'm going to eat a lot of the crap. It'll be me saying, "Okay, my bad. I don't ever expect total fairness out of people, because I don't get it." And I could whine about it. I could complain about it. I could, match them and lower my standards or whatever. Or I just say, that's part of being a leader, and I move on. I don't let it, bring me down, and I don't change who I am because of it. I don't engage with that. And I just know who people are. It's like, well, I can count on them for this. I can't count on them for that. I don't judge it. I just know what I can count on them and what I can trust them for. And sometimes it's nothing, and sometimes it's everything but being on time or something. We all have those people, our friends, they're just always late. And if you personalize that, that's the next law to live by, is don't take things personal. Because if you make that personal, now what? You're taking something personal. It wasn't really about you. That's just their character, their level of life. And they maybe never thought about it, or they don't care, that they can't get their chaotic mind wrapped around being on time. I don't know. But if you personalize everything someone else is doing, you're going to suffer, because it's going to feel like an offense. It's going to feel like a slight, a betrayal. You don't have to get upset by everything. You really don't. And this is where I think the Stoics, like, I love Marcus Aurelius. I love the Seneca and all the ancient, brainiacs, Socrates, Plato. These historical figures figured life out. They did figure stuff out, right? Even Napoleon Hill, recent philosophers. These are people that critically thought their way through life, and they were faced with life and death. I mean, Marcus Aurelius would train men: you could die today. This could be the day you die. Are you complete with your life? What do you need to deal with inside of yourself to be able to be complete, that you're going to die? So I always recommend the Stoics, even for couples, relationships, because if people are super sensitive and they're highly reactive and they can't handle things, they're personalizing everything. They're taking all of that personal. I agree with the Stoic way of thinking. I try to, mirror that myself. Let's see here. Another thing that I live by, one more law, is that I know people come to me for my energy. I think people come to most people for their energy. And there's something about someone's energy that you can read, you can pick up on. And so I always, always, always listen to my gut. Like, if I have an intuition, if I got a sense, if I got a feeling, man, I honor that. I pay attention to my spidey senses. And I really, I do everything I can to kind of honor that. Even if it doesn't logically make sense. And people are like, why? This could be a great thing, or this could be, something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel, it just feels off to me. Or like, I listen to that. I honor that. I live a lot on my intuition. And so that's something I live by mostly, is just honor myself, listen to myself, and I trust my senses. I trust what I'm feeling. That's the rules I live by mostly. There's probably a handful of others, but I wrote those down. I thought this could be of service to somebody. And if you're looking to kind of figure out the terms for your life, like, what are your terms? What will you die for? What will you kill for? What will, how do you stay sane in this crazy world right now? If you're looking to figure out what your philosophies are, what your terms are, the way of thinking, the way of handling life, like how are you handling your life? I'm really great at strategizing with people on how to cope with something, how to deal with something, how to Houdini it, how to get out of it, and or how to improve themselves and what they can do to really maximize their own strength and minimize the impact that other people have on them and start becoming a more self-controlled, more accountable and honoring your word kind of person. So this is my wheelhouse. I help a lot of men. It's funny, men will say to me, so and so gave me your card and they said you can help me get my balls back. I'm like, what is my nickname? It's so funny, right? But I've heard that by a handful of guys. And so I kind of think that men come in and if they've been beat up by a woman or, just going through a heck of a time, betrayal or something, it's just not logical to them. And a lot of this crap that men go through with women that are in midlife crisis, that's not logical. So I can help men get logical about it, see a strategy, sort it out for themselves, and women too. It's not just men, but I love working with men that are struggling with trying to be sane in this crazy world with some women. Not all women, but some women are crazy. Some men are crazy. But that's one of my niches, is helping men get back to their stoicism, back to their logic, and keep themselves sound and sane. But I'm really good with relationships. I'm really good with helping people figure out their life strategies and how they're going to survive in this crazy world, mentally, emotionally, physically, like whatever you got to take on. No more running from you. Let's sit down and deal with you. What's your timeline? Let me hear all about the stuff you got to work through. What have you not processed? Or are you emotionally constipated, right? And then you literally process and digest and kind of start getting back that emotional air again. When people leave the sessions with me, they kind of say, God, I feel so much lighter. I just feel better. And it's kind of like I give them emotional air. That's what I've been told. So I love what I do. I love working with people. And if anything I'm sharing could help you out, you are free to reach out to me at healwithkimile.com, HEAL with KIMILE.com. Have a peaceful life, honor yourself, and God bless you. Bye-bye.